Good evening, everyone. We need a motion to approve the minutes of the regular Board of Education meeting of 1/6/2026. Kathy, Patty, all those in favor? Okay, resolution passes. Dr. Farrelly.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'd like to start off by asking everyone to join me in congratulating quite a number of our students. First, our social media students who competed in the Digital Generation Social Media Competition last week. I'm proud to announce that Madeline Snyder and Carolyn Nash, along with their group, won the competition for their outstanding design and innovation of an app called the Pocket Watch. As a result of their win, they will be heading to New York City to Google headquarters, where they will receive an all-access tour, an incredible and well-earned opportunity. I don't know, maybe I can tag along. A few of us can tag along for that experience because that definitely sounds pretty cool. Additionally, Sophia Marola and Savannah Pavlico, who is in the back right here, one of our superstars, also earned runner-up honors for their impressive performance in the competition. Congratulations to all of these students for representing our senior high school so well, and again, for their hard work and their dedication. Please also join me in congratulating our Science Olympiads team. This past weekend, West Babylon Science team competed at the Mount Academy Invitational in Westchester, New York. In a competition of 34 teams, our Team A finished 9th overall. The following students finished in the top 6, earning them medals. Addie Eglin and Dira Mizra, 2nd in Anatomy and Physiology. Also, Addie Eglin and Saad Saeed, 2nd in Astronomy. Again, Addie Eglin and Saad Saeed, 5th in Chemistry Lab. Joelle Colas and Julian Cruz, 1st in Helicopter. So we are super proud of all of our students. In addition, last month, that same group, our Science Olympiads team, they began their season by competing in a virtual invitational. So for the first time, our Team A finished 10th of 90 teams that competed throughout the country, and they earned a trophy. So congratulations to all of our students for their exceptional performance. We're proud of their work. Even more importantly, we're part of their effort and their dedication to these team-based academic competitions, where students compete in a variety of challenging science, technology, engineering, and math events. So keep up the great work. That's all I have for this section of the agenda.
Good evening, everybody. This week over at the high school, we are deep into midterm week, everybody's favorite week of the year. Teachers and staff have been supportive through this process, easing what can often be a very demanding week. Last week, Student Council and Yearbook Club successfully hosted the senior banquet. The event provided seniors with a meaningful opportunity to celebrate their time together as a class. It was a positive and memorable experience that highlighted student leadership, school spirit, and the strong sense of community within our school and our school district.
Thank you. Okay, Dr. Farrelly.
Okay, at this point, I would like to invite our Buildings and Grounds fearless leader, Mr. Mike Ludritis, to the podium. Thank you, John Grillo, for joining us today, our architect.
How are you?
So Mike is going to, as we have been doing the last couple of board meetings, provide a mid-year facilities review, a departmental review of where we're at, middle of the school year, right? And he's also going to highlight, right, some areas for us to consider as we plan for the next budget cycle and we plan for our facilities and operations projects. So take it away, Mike.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here tonight. Good to see all of you. Happy 2026. As Dr. Farrelly said, I'm here to present the Buildings and Grounds 2026 year review, mid-year review. First slide just kind of goes over our general department staffing. Our department's comprised of a director of facilities. We have 2 chief custodians, 1 at each of the secondary schools. We also have 2 night leads in each one of those buildings. Each one of our elementary schools have a head custodian title, and there are currently 37 custodial worker 1s in the district. In the maintenance side of the house, we have a maintenance crew leader, 1 maintenance mechanic 4 title, a maintenance mechanic 3 title, 5 maintenance mechanic, 2 titles. 3 of them are on day shift, 2 of them are on the night shift. And I hope some of you got to see last week's facilities newsletter, which highlighted a little bit more work that we've done. And, it's been an awesome experience just working with these guys and just seeing the development, of the programs that we've been able to do in-house. So some of the mid-year highlights in these photos depict us conducting our own excavation to tie in a building drain lateral into an existing drain pool. We also retrofitted a existing pedestal water fountain, and we retrofitted that with a filtration unit, a bottle filling station in the senior CAF. The next photo depicts a custodial worker painting classrooms at the junior high school. So it's been great to kind of collaborate with Dr. Falcone on getting some of the work caught up due to some of the impact that Gen Ed Summer School has done to the building and just prevented us from getting into some of those areas. Also, maintenance crew leader Michael McNamara over the break really helped and spearheaded us with some of the heating repairs, which is again depicted in that last photo there. We've conducted 2 heating repairs that I can recall, one at Tucker Avenue and one at the junior high school. And the price quotes for those for vendor services, again, were pretty astronomical. I don't want to cite the number, but it was high. And, all of these jobs that these men and women do for us are in a huge cost savings to the district. So I just really appreciate their ability and their buy-in to really getting into some of these nooks and crannies and turning wrenches for us. The last picture, you'll see a wooden box on top of one of the new dump bodies. And again, just to demonstrate the department's ability to adapt, we had one of our other trucks go down when we were doing leaf removal using our leaf vac system, and the guys constructed in just a few hours that box that you see there. So we put the truck back on the road, and we were able to continue the grounds cleanup in autumn of the leaf debris that's out in the fields. Just again, some of the services, the day-to-day services provided by the facilities department. Each of our staff, our buildings are staffed. We're cleaning and maintaining the facilities and grounds. We started to repair and get a little bit more involved in construction. I think some of the facilities newsletters demonstrated that when we did the consolidation. Sports event setups and breakdowns. We have, task custodial workers for those events for our athletic department. We also take in deliveries. We deliver food. We deliver mail and other materials throughout the district. If there's a curriculum material, something like that for student services, our staff is there to make sure that that material lands on time for the instructional needs of the district. We also have our heads and chiefs. They're really monitoring environmental conditions inside the buildings and classrooms. It's not just we're there for, to respond to, let's say, a spill or an event setup, but they're also there looking at the environmental conditions, the temperatures, the HVAC systems. A lot of that stuff, again, is now also starting to come under state regulation and in some cases state laws, like we saw, this September, we saw the maximum temperature in classroom laws. So again, our staff is being educated, and they're really getting involved into making sure that we're in compliance with some of these new demands that are coming out from the state. Slide, please. The next slide shows our current budget summary. So this was ripped, I believe, on January 6th. So this is right out of the Envisions report, cut and pasted. So this demonstrates the buildings and grounds current budget situation. If you look under the third column, you'll see the money that was placed at the beginning of the fiscal year. And if you look at the last column, it's the remaining funding in that budget line. I'm not going to take each one of these budget lines one by one, but the one that I do want to highlight is one of them that's starting to become stressed, which is highlighted in red. It's our vehicle repairs budget code, and that's just due to the fact that some of the vehicles that we've maintained have cost us and become a little bit more extensive in the cost to keep them going. I'm going to move on from this slide unless anyone wants me to spend more time on it while it's up. I have no problem doing that, but each one of these budget codes is in pretty healthy condition, as most of our money is earmarked at the beginning of the day. We forecast what we're most likely going to spend. The purchase orders get opened. We plug in our funding, and then we sit there and we draw down the funding. We always try to hold some reserves in our budget lines for things that come up. And sometimes at the end of the year, we'll liquidate, and then we'll have some money to either throw into fund balance or to pivot into, maybe another purchase. But I'll get into that as we progress through the slideshow.
A question
Yes.
on the second line there, 4,500. So the budget was 200,000. There's almost 3,000 left. You ordered all the supplies for the year up front, so you don't foresee any curveballs being thrown your way with supplies?
Sure.
right?
So that budget line is a lot of our consumables that are in there, our Home Depot account, our Grainger account. Those are big expenditures for the paper towels, the toilet paper, the cleaning materials.
Gotcha.
That is a pretty large number. I want to say that is probably around 130,000 itself. We're looking to see a reduction as we consolidated through Forest Avenue, but just to play it safe, to keep in the same realm, we decided to fund it as if we were still managing Forest Avenue. Those other there's a few other in there, and I can go through it a little bit more in depth. But that's pretty
I was
much
just curious.
how that goes.
Thanks.
What's nice is that our vendor which was Night Marketing, became Brady. What's been really positive for the school district is that all of their ordering has gone online, and now we can have a digital metrics of what we're spending per building and what our consumption rate is per building, paper towels, toilet paper, and that's allowing us to forecast these expenditures more accurately each year, reveals another layer to that. Any other questions regarding the budget lines? I know there's a lot there, so I don't want to just breeze over it. I want to make sure that if we need to take a minute to just analyze it and speak to it, we certainly can.
Just 2 questions for me, so based on what Chris was asking there. So the $200,000 line item that's there, like we only have 3,000 left. Did we spend all that money already, or you say you just took it out of the budget line item and you're just going,
Right,
you're
so-
buying as you need?
Sure. So the way it is when Victoria releases the budget, you guys vote on the budget, the money hits the budget codes, and then we know that we have purchase orders that we plug into that budget line.
So
and
you
we-
pre-unload that dollar amount
Correct.
from what
so
you
those
have. Okay.
open purchase orders still currently contain the funding that we earmarked.
Got
For
it.
example, Home Depot is usually like a $36,000 earmark.
Okay.
Because we know that we're approximately going to spend that on construction material and things that the guys might need
Got it.
to do their job.
And then for the line that's crossed out, why is that crossed out?
That's Mr. Wallace's security line.
Okay.
So that's going to go into my next slide about
okay.
some of the forecasting and some of the rearranging of the budgets.
Got it. Thank you.
You got it. Okay, new budget codes. So one of the great things about having Miss Galante here with all of her experience, and just she's incredible. I can sit up here all day and just speak to how great she's been for me to get a little bit more insight on the budgets and the way to really move forward with some of the things that we've analyzed together with our system. So a couple of new budget codes are going to come out of some of our collaboration. The first thing is the furniture and equipment code. We've noticed that we don't have a budget line dedicated to purchasing equipment or furniture for the school district, right? So in a lot of cases, when we did need student desks, we needed material, it was a gray area that we all kind of had to navigate, sometimes at the building level between principals and myself. Sometimes it was just me going, what should we do here? So now with that line, we can start to earmark and commit money to buying equipment. For my department, it would be things like snow blowers, lawn mowers, weed whackers. And then also if we needed furniture, we needed tables, we needed new folding chairs, let's say. Stuff like that for events, we have now a budget line dedicated to that. The method before that was we would look at sort of our surplus, and then we would pivot that surplus into a budget code with a purchase order to buy the equipment. So now we know that we can have a little bit of an earmark for equipment and consistently start to update and upgrade some of our things. The next one is architect services. We have general conditions that have to be monitored from time to time, so including our building condition survey, which again is later in the slide as well. But just for example, sometimes we need an engineering report and we might have to pay for, an engineer to come and give us a structural analysis of a part of a building. So we opened up a budget code so that we're not taking it out of like a Home Depot account, let's say, or a budget line that isn't necessarily dedicated for that expenditure. So this is that moving forward. Reallocation. So some of the other things that we analyzed is that we can consolidate some budget codes and move money around because it was almost, in some instances, duplicating. Budget lines were duplicating the same vendor services, right? So we consolidated the repair of buildings into the materials and supplies budget line. And the reason why we did that is we noticed that in one of the line we were paying Ace Hardware and this hardware, and then in the other line we had Home Depot and we had Granger, right? So we're all getting material and supplies from these two budget lines. So we just took all of those purchase orders and we're going to push them into that one budget line so it just reflects more accurately for you guys and the public in general. Same thing, buildings, B&G repair of buildings contractual. We had another code that had contracts in it as well, and we noticed that some of those were recurring contracts and other ones were literally just repair of buildings, right? So if our guys, for example, can't fix a steam pipe in a boiler room that's a 6-inch diameter because it's just, beyond our equipment scope and maybe beyond that scope, we were using that contracts line to pay for that instead of just using it out of a material and supply line. So, and then we have recurring contracts. For example, the Outback portable toilet johns, right, that we see, the portable toilets on the field. So we know the elevator service, the fire alarm inspections, these are recurring. Every year we have to pay for this. So that's going to remain in the service contracts line. So I hope I was clear on that. I know it's a little complicated. And then, of course, the B&G/security conference codes, we're looking just to break that out. That was one of the recommendations, was to not have shared budget lines so that things are a little bit more delineated in earmarks. So kind of a no-brainer there. Next slide, please. Okay, now we have consider this. So we are on the portion of the slideshow that is sort of requests based on needs and wants that I've analyzed in the time that I've been here in the department. So one of the things that's becoming, and that's why that one budget line was redlined, is that our the costs of maintaining our trash truck, our garbage truck, it's a 2011. The unit is starting to show signs of aging and wear and tear. I can't see too clearly all of the data up there. I'm gonna be honest. I don't know if I'm gonna be 44 in February, right? So I don't know, but anyway. So I did procure a contract service. Trash service in Long Island is still very territorial, as it has been traditionally, which I learned. But basically what we're having here is we're having a little bit of an opportunity cost with doing our own carting service. So I did get some quotes because when, again, we consolidated Forest Avenue, they wanted a dumpster contract, so we began the process to obviously get price points on that, and I just went ahead and did it for the entire school district because I do look at it as an opportunity cost. I look at this as an opportunity for the betterment of the facilities department. So the quote that we had for pickup for 3 times a week at each building was $93,000 for the year. When you reduce the Forest Avenue pickup because they are compensating our school district for that service, I believe it comes down to 84, but I can't see it in blue up there.
84.
But if my memory recalls correctly, 84,240. So that's the carting proposal that I have currently, and I just had it re-upped, I think, at the beginning of the fiscal year in late 2025. The cost of in-house carting services, as I started to break down what we're actually spending by maintaining our own garbage truck and service, I came to approximately $78,1408. And if you look at my bullet points there, it incorporates the inspections and the repair of the vehicle, which hasn't always been consistent, but as, again, the vehicle ages, the expenditure of repairs is going up and more frequent. The employee cost, it's about 50% of a maintenance mechanic 2 shift. that, by the time they're going from building to building and collecting and then off to the dump. So we calculated that without benefits. That's just their salary. The insurance on the vehicle is approximately $5,000 a year. We earmarked $25,000 a year for the town of Babylon for the dump. And we've had to, we're spending about $38.63 on fuel and our emergency pickup. So one of the challenges here with this operation is that we currently only have 2 CDL holders for this vehicle, right? So whenever those people they're contract employees, they're entitled to time off. Sometimes vacations come up, emergencies come up, time off comes up. And in a couple of instances, we didn't have the staff on hand to operate the truck. So again, with this new relationship with Winter Brothers, in this case, I made the call and they were able to come and service us in our time of need, which was very nice. And of course, at a cost, which I thought was very reasonable, by the way. So again, the difference in my estimation is we're approximately saving about $6,000 by doing our own carting service. The replacement cost of this truck, from what I've seen, is anywhere from that's a 20-yard compactor on that truck, right? So I'm looking for like material. I looked one up today. I found one for $228,000 to replace. So the pros and cons of this, in my opinion, are with a service, we're going to have a forecasted amount of expenditure for this, right? We're going to know each year that we're spending $90,000 or $84,000 or whatever it is on the pickup. There's no capital investment required for the truck or replacement, which we're basically now looking at. We're at a point where the current vehicle that we have is at end life. In fact, we just put it out for a hydraulic pump replacement, and then the mechanic called up our maintenance crew leader and said, hey, the PTO gears are totally shredded and I have the truck open now. It's another $6,000 if you want, and I'll do the gear. So the truck is open. You don't want to put the truck back in service and then you're bringing it back the next week. So we went ahead and had that repair. But that's, these are kind of blindsided situations for us as we're managing the fleet in this instance. So, another pro is that the vendors are responsible, for the maintenance, the inspections, the insurance, and the regulatory compliance. And that's a huge asterisk here with this. So we can't guarantee that there's not a waste product in the back of our own truck that would become a compliance issue for us. In most cases, it's food waste that we're throwing out, right? That's the lunch program and the food waste. But from time to time, there is a clean out, right, of maybe a science lab, maybe a custodial storage area, and that material could be something that if it were ever, seen in the dump, or if somebody, EPA, constable, whatever, who's ever the enforcement agency of that, it could be problematic for the district. I'm not trying to sensationalize it, but it's just food for thought here. Again, as I do my pros and cons list. So we would reduce the risk associated with equipment breakdowns and aging of the vehicle. And then it gives us the maintenance mechanics, and this is going to be my overall theme of my entire presentation here. It gives us an opportunity to have time on task with our maintenance mechanics so that we're utilizing them for some of the job tasks that I think we're paying a lot more for vendor services for. So, yes, sir.
Include the price of the dumpsters for each school also?
It included the price of the dumpsters. We needed one dumpster for each elementary building. They had 2, because we did a bag count. So one of the ways, we took a tally of all the bags that were going out each day to get this information. 2 were slated for the junior high school, and I think they had 3 or maybe even 4 for the high school. And that would be picked up Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So 3 pickups a week. That was something, I thought it was a very decent price. But again, I'm not well versed in the prices, so don't take my word for it. It is a number that, I think we would have to probably go out for a bid, or could we use someone off OGS contract? There might be a component there in the cons list, right? So one of the cons is there wouldn't be a reduction in the maintenance staff because we would tool that maintenance mechanic for other work in the district, right? So that could be seen as a con potentially. The rate of increase is likely at the renewal of a contract, but one of the positives was after getting off the phone with the Winter Brothers rep is that they would go into a multi-year deal, which would then at least lock us into price increases or be able to manage the forecasting of those price increases. And, excuse me, you know, like I said, may require a bid, you know, so that could be a con, but it's really just another component of procuring the service. I do have a couple of photos aesthetically. You know, it is something that we see. You know, we see that we're putting, you know, food waste bags that unfortunately sometimes are leaking. They're in the sun. You know, it is a situation that that has been brought to my attention by the public. You know, sometimes I think, you know, if we had a situation where we had a late pickup, I think we might add a sports game, and right at the receiving area where everybody's coming to cheer on our team, you know, we unfortunately have a pickup point for our garbage collection. So, you know, I just wanted to kind of lay it out for you guys that I strongly recommend us going and pivoting away from the dumpster, the garbage truck and into a dumpster contract. I think it would also help us with our integrated pest management services, right? Some of those morsels of food, the corn day, you know, some of that stuff is as good as the custodial staff is. It's not faulting, but sometimes there is, just like in front of your house, right? Sometimes the bag, the cup falls out, you know, it's the same thing, right? So in some instances, we're concerned that it could be also attracting potential, you know, vermin or just affecting our integrated pest management plan as well.
Mike, just one question for you, Mike.
Yes, sir.
Waste management, do they also go into the fields, in the ball, like baseball field or the football field, and individually go and pick up garbage pails and empty them, or just the dumpsters?
No, that would just be the dumpsters. We would still continue to do that. You know, we would have our maintenance crew would go back there, or our custodial crew would go back there with the golf carts and load them up and bring those into the dumpster receptacles.
Now, are they going to pick up garbage like you see in the picture over here with garbage laying next to the buildings? Waste management, or no?
No, we would have dumpsters on premises.
And you would have to load up the dumpsters?
Correct. We looked at locations already. I did have a site visit by the Winter Brothers rep, I think in the spring before we broke for the 24-25 fiscal year. It's time is flying, so excuse me. Yeah, so we did look and we identified locations that we can have. And, you know, in addition to that, we're going to put fencing. Like if we did move forward with this, we're going to put fencing around these units, you know, so they're beautified and they're not kind of standing out like eyesores. I think the only downside was at the high school, the truck's vantage point we'd probably be taking out potentially 2 parking spots across from receiving. We could always revisit that and relook. There's some other options, and we did this very quickly. But overall, it's not an impact to, in my opinion, a negative impact for any of the facilities. I think it's a win. I really do. You know, I wouldn't present it if I didn't think that it was the right way forward. In addition to that, you know, I have talked to other facilities directors. I have talked to other garbage people in the business, and they don't know of another district that does this service in-house. Again, not saying that that's a bad thing, but just saying it as a fact that I haven't been able to cite another district that's currently operating their own waste management team.
What would be the location of the dumpster for the junior high school?
So I was looking at the first grass area off to the side, up against the fence. That's where I think the best vantage point for that would be, Chris. Okay. We also have a unique situation where, you know, as the capital project develops, there might be, you know, a moment in time to use some of the resources to put a pad and maybe change that location as well.
Okay. With the bidding on this, can you piggyback off other districts? I know in some bidding processes we do that, or is it just all individual, district by district?
For the waste management
Yeah.
contract?
Is it just going to be individual district or?
Are they under OG, like our?
So Winter Brothers is OGS.
Okay.
So we could utilize that right off a bid. In the piggybacking world, I know things are changing. So I don't want to speak to that right now
Yeah.
because I'm not familiar enough with some of the changes with piggybacking specifically off of other districts.
This region seems to be primarily one company.
Yes.
Put it as territorial, I think is what you said.
It is. It's not. It's not
okay.
to say that if we went out for a bid that we wouldn't get a jet sanitation or an LWS, right, which is up in sort of the northern regions of Long Island. That could happen.
Be careful.
I don't. Yeah. I don't know if. I don't know if it would happen, but it could happen, right?
Understood.
So.
Quick question for you. If we did engage in this contract, what do we do with the truck that we have?
So the truck would most likely, we could have options. We could hold on to the truck in the event that we wanted to keep it for events and, have a garbage truck around for a little bit. If we, in my opinion, it would be most beneficial to us to probably put it out for auction. It's at that point in time. I honestly, I don't want to speak to this, but I did have a conversation with our maintenance crew leader earlier today, and I think there's another underlying issue mechanically with the truck. It's still operating, but I think it has a situation with oil in the radiator. I don't want to, if I say it 3 times, it'll come true, so that's the only time I'm going to say it. But this is some of the challenge currently at this time with this vehicle.
What kind of value do you think, if we did go down that route, do you think we can get for the truck?
If I would have not said what I just said, I would say.
Maybe don't say
I'm
it.
ignoring
Don't
that,
say
right?
it.
So let's say-
I can't speak to that. I'm sorry, Frank. I really don't know what the value is. I've seen
problem.
them at like the $22,000 range used.
That's kind of what I was thinking
Yeah,
too. So,
a
okay.
20-yard compactor.
Yep.
And again, I don't know if that means sight on scene, mechanically sound, but just again reviewing some of the vendors that are out there for secondhand equipment. I did see that. I don't really know what would be on Auctions International, but that's who we would use to auction the vehicle off.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you. Appreciate that.
You got it. Okay, next slide. Okay, facilities proposed requests continued, and I'm going to make this as painless as possible. So another thing we're looking at, right, is establishing a grounds department. So my overall theme here is time on task, right? So when we operate a garbage truck in a maintenance title, we're not time on task for fixing things, turning wrenches, paint programs, all of these other things that we would start to look at. And establishing a grounds department, again, is another thing that I hope everybody would consider at some point. I know that the CSEA contract is currently open, so there's a beautiful opportunity to sort of consider a new line and maybe open that up for that possibility. And the reason for that, again, is it just creates a dedicated staff for grass cutting, tree brush trimming, fence and sprinkler repair. And the parking lot painting with the Stop Arm program, we were able a couple of years ago to pick up that beautiful striping machine, which we were able to use the summer before last. Obviously, it was all hands on deck for building consolidation and clean out. But that would be sprinkler repair, fences, that would be the ground scope. The signage, right, continuously analyzing and replacing signage that's fading, that's, just not aesthetically pleasing. That would be their main focus. It would definitely help point us in the right direction for aesthetics, building aesthetics and achieving that, schedules. It also gives us a flexibility, for the potential of maybe a Tuesday through Saturday shift where if there is an instructional issue with our mowing operation, we might be able to have that happen on a Saturday perhaps. Again, can't speak to the contract at this current time, but that would be something to look into as well.
What would the winter be like?
The winter would be, they would definitely do snow removal. That's a good question. I think a lot of the stuff in the winter would be the fence repair. It would be getting a temperate day, like we just had, 54 degrees last week? It was like a heat wave. I would have them outside probably trimming the fence lines back. We would look at maybe, can we jump on the softball field clay, right? And start to maybe scuff that up and get that ready for season, loosen that up. And maybe now we're not using so much clay softener product, right? So there would be a couple of things. Obviously with the new department, the program would have to be established. And in a way, like you just brought up, Chris, it would have to be for the year, right? We would have a seasonal program pushing forward. We could also, utilize them for other things as well. It wouldn't be, Right now, plows on, plows off, right? We're doing snow removal. That's kind of our focal point at this time of year. So it would be things like that. But we should certainly look at a winter time for fence repair. You know, there's always things like that that could be done.
So once you define the role, it's specific to that role. You could not shift people inside. Remember, a couple years ago, we had the HIT team that was working on specific projects like ceilings and lighting. You couldn't shift people or maneuver people around, or are they stuck to the role that they're identified as?
No, we could definitely utilize them. I think there's a civil service rule of 10%, if I'm not mistaken. But ultimately, with the in-house projects, which is coming up as well, it would be an all-hands-on-deck situation.
Okay.
For grounds? Yeah. You know, in my estimation, we currently have a custodial title setting up in each of the secondary schools, right? I would look at maybe having a 4 or 5 man crew at most to get that ball rolling. If we started off with 3, it's a start. You know, we could always down the road analyze the effectiveness. You know, maybe we start off with a 3 man crew and go from there. But I think that's kind of what it takes. If I'm looking at even a residential lawn service, I'm usually seeing minimally a 3 man crew. You know, you have the mower operator, the weed whacker, the guy, you know, grabbing the buckets to dump and, you know, blowing with a blower down at the end. When you start to incorporate sports setups too, some districts are actually breaking their grounds department into 2 task sets. One is just sports field maintenance and setups, and the other one is going to be, you know, the grounds, the grass cutting, the tree trimming, things like that.
You talk about irrigation. Is there much irrigation in our district?
Yes, so we have irrigation out here on the senior high school field. We have it on the junior high school field. We have it between Tooker and Forest, but that's actually kind of already lionized and maintained for us.
That's privately taken care of.
Correct. Each building had a little irrigation system that I think in-house guys have installed in the past. And some of those, I would honestly say we should bring those back online, right? That would be another project point. We had one at Sanapog, and then it was in the way when we terminated the sub oil tanks that we used to have, and unfortunately, you know, away went the irrigation system. But it's something again that we could look at to bring back, and again, we get the aesthetics back. We start to have, you know, a plan for that.
Is there any irrigation in the middle school?
The-
Old Farmingdale Road?
Yes. Yep.
The grass?
Yes. Yes, there is. Yeah.
Is operable?
Yeah, it operates great. Yeah. It's on the northern side of the field there, the northern west field. You know where the lacrosse games are and
No,
stuff
I'm
like that.
talking about in the front where the parking is.
No, there's not that I'm aware of.
Are there approved lawn chemicals or lawn granular products for weed control? 'Cause I've just seen some schools, I don't know how they do it, where, you know, you don't
Right.
see the number of weeds that we have.
Sure.
I know it's probably just from us in the past, and I just don't know that the
Yeah,
schools would have
it would
anything
be
approved.
a regiment that we would have to begin, you know, aeration, overseeding, honestly.
Right,
That would be,
right.
again, part of the plan for a grounds department. To get to your question, there is a pesticide plan that we could adopt. It has to run into the state guidelines, Safe Schools, I believe. There's a state regulation there as well that we would just have to abide by. But there is a pesticide notification tab on many of the school districts that opt to use it. We would have to disclose what those chemicals are and what the schedule of
Okay.
the practice and the application is.
Okay, so the basic maintenance of the equipment used right now for mowing, that you have, that's budgetary, already in the budget, but when you talk about overseeders and aerators, do we have that equipment already?
We might have an aerator. I'm trying to think of what's in the
Probably not working.
garage over here, just off my memory.
I'm just
But either
curious.
way, the equipment most likely, Chris, would have to be analyzed for its,
Right,
its functionality.
Understood.
Okay, so that's kind of one of the investments that I see is a landscape trailer there with the crew, approximately $8,000 for a double axle. And again, we have a trailer, so maybe for a year, if we implement it, we don't necessarily need to get the trailer right away, but it gives us options. It gives that crew almost like a mobile base of operations, right? Next, we talked about establishing a food service delivery driver position. Again, time on task. Sometimes maintenance crew leader is assigning their maintenance staff to tasks, and then, we just found out we're out of a food product in a building. So then that maintenance department worker is now stopping that operation, not completing that work order, and they're going to go back and get into the freezer and then deliver food. So sometimes, sometimes it's inevitable depending on the staffing of the day, but this would absolutely keep us on task, and this is my reoccurring theme. And again, I think that having a dedicated worker would help out with inventory. It's also the fact that, not to spend Miss Dixon's money. I hope you're watching Miss Dixon, but, she is C-Fund. She's profitable. It could be an option where it wouldn't impact the budget whatsoever. Especially, we have plans at building a freezer at Sanapog. Another exterior freezer to give us a little bit more of a backup, and then logistically alleviate the current freezer with the product that's in there so it's a little bit more manageable. It would require a vehicle purchase, one of the cons to this. One of the challenges. I don't even want to call it a con. It would require a vehicle purchase so that employee had, a van or some kind of vehicle to do this job. Next slide, please. Okay, another thing that we're looking at is the potential of a MM3 specializing in HVAC. So we hit a home run. We have, our maintenance crew leader has a general contracting background and license. We were able to hire in 2024, early 24, a maintenance mechanic 3 that had an electrical master electrician certification. And the third part of this component is hopefully getting an HVAC certified individual. This would absolutely give us a dedicated member to managing all of the AC preventative maintenance and breakdowns, as well as Margaret's refrigeration. This would reduce the reliance, and that's the key here, right, is reducing reliance on vendor services and the costs that are associated with that. It gives the district an opportunity also with someone that has a Freon handler's license to be able to do a mini split program. The district spent maybe like $111,000, I think I saw, for all the window units, right? And at some point, those window units, we want to make sure as we turn them over, I would really love to do a mini split system. It's more economical. You get a little bit more out of them as far as their longevity, and you eliminate the building envelope where there's like a panel right in the window. We're kind of losing a little bit of the heat and stuff like that. So it's an idea. I'm not asking for it, but I just want to plant the seed that it would be fantastic if there was a way to procure that or open a position up with a target of an HVAC tech. The final thing here is the purchasing of a new double wing mower. So our current mower is a 2001. It's again almost like the garbage truck. It's showing signs of age, and it's costing us a lot of money to keep operating. I think we spent about $6,000 keeping it up for the last 12 months. And it seems to be breaking down a little bit more frequently. So the cost of a new double wing mower is between $75,000 and $250,000. I can assure you that we're not spending $250,000 on a double wing mower. But when I saw that the price could go up that high because it's air conditioned and touch screen, the technology is unbelievable. But I would say the $75,000 is probably in the realm, maybe up to $100,000, depending on how these cost increases affect that kind of product. Next slide, please. Okay, looking ahead, and I'm going to try to charge through this because I know I'm a long-winded guy. Looking ahead here, so this year in April, we're looking to wrap up our energy performance contract, so hooray for that. As you've seen, all the solar panels are installed on the roof. Everything is generating. And, I'm recommending we enter into a next phase once we wrap this one up, although after kind of talking with John in the hallway, I would have to maybe revisit that idea based on what else could we get an energy performance contract for. My thing is boiler systems, but again, I don't know if that would be in a comprehensive package and available through an EPC, but it would certainly, if it is, be something that I would advocate for. The other thing is we're continuing our in-house projects, right? So we've been doing really good with that. I'd like to continue it. One of the challenges that we just saw over the winter break was staff participation. The contract is very nice. It provides the recesses off to our staff during the Christmas and that holiday break, and as well as the February recess. To get the staff in, they're a little reluctant due to the fact that the labor law states that they have to have 40 working hours before that time and a half pay plan comes in. Some people don't care. They want to come in. They want to work. Other people see that as, why would I do that? Right? So when we need an all-hands-on-deck project, like to knock out the remaining ceiling work at the junior high school, we don't want to try to schedule that work and then have people start dropping out on us if we're going to make the expenditure on the material and then not have the labor. So it's been a little bit of a hindrance to I think, of the plan of in-house projects. I just want to cite the cost. So I did get a cost for the remainder of the ceiling rip out at the junior high school. I think it was $313,000 for everything. Might be a little off there. But anyway, our in-house, we looked at it. It was approximately $20 a square foot versus our guys doing it for about $5 or $6, depending on, again, what maintenance level and things like that. So very much advantageous financially to do it in-house. But I just wanted to say that the hindrance is sort of in the participation level for us to execute that, and especially given the short window of time that we have to do that. Another thing that we looked at is the parking lot expansion. We know due to the consolidation, we have more staff concentrated in our buildings. So, we looked into some parking lot expansions. We have just rough estimates. So to look at the Tooker Avenue, it's about $300,000. JFK was about $350,000. And Sanapog came in, between $75,000 and $100,000 if we wanted to take the sliver that's in the front of the building by the flagpole and then pave that and expand about 40 parking spaces, I think, in each location. So, it's not just pavement alone, and pavement doesn't qualify for aid. A project would have to come in-house for the district to qualify for state aid. And the logistical challenges with that, as we do property reduction, specifically at JFK, the layout of the building is going to affect either a baseball field or even a sporting field for, I think they're using it for flag football, if we went and paved and, installed a parking lot there. Other things to look forward to, the replacement of the LED sign in front of the building. So we are all set. We have the money in hand. I, just want to shout out the Alumni Association and Representative Dorso for helping us with that. We ordered the sign. I had a call with Cody today, so we're just waiting on the lead time for the sign, and hopefully in the next facilities newsletter, we've got it lit up, and we're celebrating the new sign install for the front of the high school here, so I'm looking forward to that. Next slide, please.
Mike, I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
Just with the EPC and an emphasis on the boilers, what's the condition about boilers in this? How old are they?
All the boilers were installed in 2001, so they're pretty much getting at end of life. They're still functioning. The fire burner itself, the Honeywell components that do high fire and turn the gas on and stuff, those components are actually not manufactured anymore. So a lot of the issues we're having are actually with the actual burner. The boilers are cast iron. We're producing steam in all of our buildings. The mineralization, the oxidation of the metal starts to break down. And, we have had issues where, we've had to take ribs out of the boiler, and things like that. And just after a certain amount of ribs, the boiler is no longer operable. So I'm happy to report we don't have that issue. But we are kind of on a short timeline for having to start to do a boiler replacement. Next, looking ahead, we're looking at the walk-in freezer. So I've been collaborating with Margaret Dixon, and we're looking to pour a concrete pad and put a very nice walk-in freezer for the staff out in the back of Sanapog. We have the price points there listed. Continuing in-house projects, we ordered 2 softball benches for the girls' softball field here in the back. They're about 2 weeks out, so I'm hoping that they get here and we have them installed for opening day. The quote was $13,759 for the benches, and we were able to buy them for about just over $3,000, and we can install them ourselves. So that was a nice savings. Building condition survey is coming up. Every 5 years, it's required by SED. So we're going to have the building looked over soup to nuts, and that's going to be able to help us drive our vision for our long-range plan and prioritizing some of the deficiencies or potential deficiencies we have with infrastructure in the district. And finally, replacement of fencing. The challenge is clearing away the brush. Some of them have full-grown trees. I thought I had a really good thing going on with the town of Babylon. It kind of didn't materialize. It's okay. So we're going to have to set aside some money, and I really want to get the fence line restored at the junior high school. I was taught poles on their side, your fence, poles on your side, their fence. There's a thing in the business. I thought it was the town of Babylon's fence. Fortunately, they don't see it that way. So we're going to hopefully, in the coming, I would say in this coming year, be able to expense and get the fence done at the junior high school and take care of some of that. The guys did a great job clearing it out already. So it's just a matter of getting the material. Okay, next slide,
Mike,
please.
just to hit on that a little bit more, and I know I've spoken to you about this, and I've spoken with an email Dr. Farrelly about this in the last year and a half. Obviously, that fence line does look terrible along Farmingdale Road and then going down to Pay Park Field across by the middle school. You talk about the town of Babylon getting involved and trying to push it off. Is there any way you guys can set up a meeting and maybe get Supervisor Schaefer on board and go down there and look at the situation, and maybe he can help get things going with this?
We could certainly revisit that. We did have a good email exchange. It seemed that the crew leader themselves was offered the services, offered the labor, but didn't necessarily offer the material. So that's certainly an avenue that we can pick up, in the future. I just want to make sure that the product that we're getting is, of good industrial quality. I don't want to go to Home Depot and buy a residential grade fence. I want to make sure that we get the right stuff. But absolutely, Anthony, I could certainly follow up with the town and see if we can continue to collaborate maybe as the weather thaws out. Certainly.
That's good, because it's all about curb appeal, and it doesn't look that great over there.
Sure, absolutely. Any other questions from the things that I presented today?
I'll just ask real quick about the AC system. So I know you're suggesting or putting the seed in for the mini splits. Is there a significant energy savings by using mini splits versus using the wall units?
I would say there is, but I'm not well versed enough to cite what that is, Frank.
Okay.
But I can certainly get back to you on that.
Okay.
I'll definitely put it up the chain, and we'll get you what the current units are in the windows and some of the mini split systems that would be like to install.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I think if there is a significant energy savings, it's definitely good for discussion.
Just going back to the food service delivery, you said now maintenance will get a call. We have to bring that over. What does that look like now if you don't have a car? Because you had said you would need a car. So what does it look like currently?
So currently, it's a maintenance vehicle that the maintenance mechanic is in. Food service is on a schedule, but for every once in a while, the truck breaks down on the George Washington Bridge from New Jersey. We had more of a food service, and it's great, right? More lunch sold, we need more product than we assume. So it's not a bad thing. But I think it would help, and especially with the addition of another freezer and almost like another central storage location. In my opinion, what it does is it gives us a north and south logistical distribution for food, and that's going to require a little bit more attention to the inventory of food than what I believe is currently happening. Right now, we have a custodian in the high school who's in there, and he loads it and helps unload it. But I think once you split that, and now we have kind of a void of task, who's going to be the committed person to manage the north freezer at Sanapog, I think we could certainly use, even if it was a per diem sub, and maybe I shouldn't go too into detail of how that works. But I think it's not a full-time job. I think it's a part-time position. But I think it would help the food service manage their stock. I think it would help them have someone at the ready to be able to, be flexible for them in their time of need. I'm not saying what's going on now is completely detrimental, but again, my focus is time on task. So when we invest in the material and the time, we don't have any pulling away of that job, so we can check that box and get that job done.
One last question, if you don't mind, Mike.
Yeah.
Sorry to be a pain in the butt
No,
for you
not at all.
tonight. You talk about the backyard project coming up in the summertime in the middle school. And you had spoken to us about possibly being able to take down that concession with our guys in-house. Is that
Right.
still possible?
I think it's possible. It would require, again, all hands on deck. We will definitely look into that. I think that there's it's timber and block, so I think with the right equipment we could bring it down. Absolutely.
Now, would that be able to be done with the timely fashion with that project being done? So when it's all done, that building is not in existence and it'll look a lot nicer?
Yeah, 100%. I would want that to be coordinated with the capital work. Anything that we're doing back there, we're trying our best to make sure everything ties together so it's done.
Would that be more beneficial use for you guys for storage than taking it down? We bought that as
Can't use it for storage.
So
We talked about
one of the good news that John just came with was that our press box is up at SED for approval, right? So John hinted that there's about 24 weeks out of once we get the approval and we execute the purchase. In 24 weeks it takes to build the box and send it for delivery. So we were hoping to take that unit down, put the new press box up, redo the entire back area, and we're still aiming for that. Obviously, lead time on material is not in our control, but certainly the demolition of that area is. Now, for storage, we would use the old concession stand for, press box for storage. It's already equipped with a garage. It's kind of serving as a storage area already. I don't think that we need two of them, so we would probably do the demo on that one, and then that would be that. Okay. With no further ado, I'm going to pass it off to John. He's going to give you guys a little demonstration on the capital project at the junior high school. Thank you.
We thought it would be a good time to jump back on the junior high school project, right, in terms of some of the visuals, and a couple of questions for you. I think we can just continue. Next slide,
there we go.
right? Yep.
There we go.
There we go. Okay.
All right, good evening, everybody. So where we are with our summer project, it's been up at the State Education Department. We have architectural approval, we have engineering approval. I thought we had fiscal associate approval, but they came back with one last question, and we've been working with the attorneys now. Basically, in my opinion, and I'm not the attorney, I think we did everything right on our end. We had a bond presentation prior to the vote. We clearly delineated, or you guys delineated, the A-list projects and then the B-list projects. All the A-list projects were completed. So we should be able to then spend the remaining funds on the B-list project. I think we're waiting for bond counsel to get us a letter that the State Education Department wants us to send up, have their counsel take a look at it to make sure that we're all on the same page before we start spending those funds. So we're working on that. That's the last piece of the puzzle right now. But like I said, everything else is approved. The other phases are approved. That also includes the interior tech room reconstruction. Go next slide. So this is just a review of where we are. The 4 tennis courts, new seating areas, the green area, the light green area there'll be like a synthetic turf, but a landscape turf, not the black crumb rubber that gets all over the place. It just got like a little shock pad under and a little sand-based. Kids could sit. We'll have tables and chairs out there. The shades that we looked at, the sunshades, so when it gets really hot, we can put them out there. Also a basketball court, handball courts, and then the walkway. And what we'll also be doing is we're gonna run conduit around the perimeter of everything with drags. So if we want to do future security cameras or site lighting or security lighting or Wi-Fi, the conduit will be underground, so we don't have to worry about that in the future. That'll all be taken care of. There'll be a drag. If we don't use it, it's a couple runs of 2-inch round conduit that we can have. Perfect. Next slide. This is a little bit of a blow up here in terms of a West Babylon archway as we're walking into the athletic field, as well as sort of a walkway, a little decorative walkway to walk from one end to the other. I know the last time we were here, we were talking about maybe pavers, maybe buy a brick or buy a paver, but sometimes that takes a lot longer. And so we're talking about maybe doing a stamped concrete pattern. You know, they have millions of different stamped concrete patterns. You can get them in colors, and we could do something like that. It'll actually be a lot cheaper as well. And then this one's a little hard to see, but this is just the renovation of the interior tech room. We're tying this building in, the renovation, new ceiling, new lighting, HVAC system, dust collection system, and then we have new windows going in the back of the tech room as well as furniture, you know, painting, redoing the floor, and interior and exterior doors. And those are the scheduled projects. As Michael had alluded to, the press box is currently up at the state. The one tricky part about that is I anticipate that being approved by the end of February. Right now, we're looking at about 24-week lead time for the press box. I was hoping it'd be a little sooner so we can swing it a little easier because it's got by the time we get the press box, we might have to swing over the new tennis courts to set the press box down. So we're going to have to work through that a little bit more. But that's probably not going to be here by August based on timing and stuff like that. That'll come in the middle, probably more like the middle of football season. And at that point, do you guys want to wait for the end of fall sports before we set that up? That's something we can talk about going forward.
So things like, I'll call them aesthetics, right? Like the type of the seating or the coloring, or you mentioned the different types of like stamps. So those are all kind of more specific detail pieces that will come later on in the project, right? This is the overall layout and everything that was submitted and approved by the state, right? You know, in terms of the architectural review and all those pieces, right? We talked about seating, but we would select the seating, right? You know, in terms of later on in the process. We talked about some shade relief, right? So we would select, right, what that looks like in terms of the material, the coloring, and whatnot. So those types of things, those would be decision points in terms of for you know, a little bit later on.
Yeah, we'll specify everything, and then you guys will have color charts for the poles and for the sails, and depending on what color we want to do for the tennis courts, if you want to go to the U.S. Open colors, or, you know, blue or yellow for the basketball courts, you know, something like that.
We would have a breakdown of the costs as well.
Of the,
Well, I remember when we previously had done this, we had kind of a breakdown. Remember when we started itemizing, take this out, are we going to see that kind of?
so we would be
we don't
going out
really-
to bid once we have,
Then we would get a breakdown? Okay.
Definitely, yep.
So one question, I think we spoke about this last time, is the drive, the pathway along the back of the building where you have to have vehicles go through. We talked about the blacktop between the seating areas, each of those islands you have of seating and shade area. You had said it could be concrete, it could be blacktop. Is that not determined yet, or is that still up in the air?
Well,
My only question is, and anybody who's been on the board, is we don't do very well with blacktop in this district.
Okay.
Anytime I visited blacktop after the project's done, we are not happy. We see dips, we see puddles, we see. But besides that, that lava flow of blacktop between these seating areas is probably not going to look very nice as it starts to crack and stuff like that. So is there still opportunity where that would be concrete somehow?
What we'll do is we'll bid it both ways.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, you know, it's easier to drive on asphalt than concrete.
Right.
You know, we really don't recommend driving heavy materials on
that
concrete
area,
unless
that
it's
area is
prepped
fine
for.
with blacktop. I'm referring to the.
The areas in between?
When it gets in between and around those islands, to have that blacktop lava flow.
Yeah, that's fine.
I don't think.
We could
That's
do
just
that.
my
We'll
opinion.
tie it in, make maybe across there at the bottom.
The walkway.
Yeah, keep the driving area blacktop.
Just give you all blacktop
Right.
everything in here concrete?
Somehow, yeah, transition to the other areas better, yeah.
And that area will fit a fire truck or an ambulance?
Yep, plenty of room.
Okay.
So we would bid it both ways so that we can get those numbers, yeah.
Yeah, just to make sure we don't go over, because we're gonna have to have alternates,
Yeah.
you know, just to make sure we don't go over budget.
And when we originally looked at the plans, back with the other company, they had stated that our current tennis courts were not regulation size. This takes care of that?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
Correct, yep.
Okay.
21 feet behind and 12 feet in between.
Okay.
Did we talk about painting pickleball inside the tennis courts or no?
Yeah, you would be pickleball also, apparently, that seems to be a big
So
thing.
I like it doing 2 pickleball courts on each tennis court.
Okay.
I've seen a district do one pickleball court in the middle, and they use the tennis court net. I'm a little bit of a freak when it comes to regulation and heights and stuff. I would recommend 2 with the movable pickleball nets, or we could just do 1 each. It's up to you guys. But then obviously the netting is too high for pickleball if you're going to be that regulated.
Well, obviously, the tennis is a priority for the students,
Right.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
you would still want, everybody's doing pickleball now,
Right.
right? Well, at least have one court, having an option of,
Sure.
Well, whatever I guess I think what we first discussed was, do we need 4 tennis courts? We were told we did.
Yes.
So I don't know that we could, I think they'd have to adjust their wrist angle a little bit and get over the higher net.
right.
Because if they
Whatever
said
you
they
wanna
needed
do.
4,
We're gonna have to adapt to pickleball.
yeah, I don't know. Maybe it helps in your shot when you play on other fields. Yeah, because then you can have one net lower, and it wouldn't be regulation for tennis.
Well, each pickleball court fits on one side of a tennis court.
Okay.
So I would do 2 then. And then they buy the nice portable, whatever, this height versus a tennis court
Okay.
net, yeah.
Understood.
And you could do 1, but some of those things we would want to know before we bid, because obviously a contract's going to charge us if he's got to pay 2 or 4 courts worth of pickleball courts, or 8, whatever
Right.
whatever we decide to do.
Right.
And when we met, John, we were talking about, actually, I think I had said I wanted to touch base with the board, right? The height of the fence, right? We had said, did we say we were going to bid both ways, or we wanted to ask?
Yeah, so normally on tennis courts, you go at least with a 10-foot, maybe even a 12. I didn't want it to, what do we want to do on the basketball side and the handball court side? Do you want it lower? Do you want it no fence? Do you want it high? But then you got, miles of 10-foot high fence around the whole place. That would be something we'd have to decide on before, or, as Jenny just said, we could bid it both ways, a 4-foot high. To me, a 4-foot high fence is kind of,
Didn't do nothing.
doesn't do anything.
Didn't do anything.
It's just
Yeah,
annoying.
that's
And that's gonna be black vinyl fence?
It would be black vinyl, yes. So I don't really see one unless we want to keep, but if it's for the community, we want to be able to keep it open and that kind of thing. So I would either do all 10, or,
I think you have to go 10 feet.
and that's if you want to put 10 around the basketball court and then around the handball courts, or nothing.
And then we were talking about the balls flying everywhere, if we don't.
Well, the tennis court, you definitely need the fence.
Correct.
A
Yes.
basketball court currently doesn't have one, I don't think.
No.
No.
Right. I hate that handball. I hate that handball wall. It's in the worst spot. That thing is an eyesore, but it is what it is. All right, well, it's not a decision for now, right? Is the fence? Is it
Yeah, I
what-
mean, we could bid,
My
Oh,
plan would be the second we get SED approval, get out to bid.
yeah.
We don't want to be waiting until April and
No,
May,
definitely not.
putting
Yeah.
bids out, because we're going to
Yeah.
get the higher costs and maybe not the greatest of contractors. So the sooner the better really works well for everybody.
All right, so we could put it out as a separate piece, the high fence, right? In terms of, and then we could decide if we want to include it or not.
Sure.
But it'll be part of then the bid.
Do 10 on all 3, and then, so obviously we'll do 10 as the base bid around the tennis.
Yes,
But a 10-foot around the basketball option,
option,
and then a 10 around the handball option.
option, yep, and then we could decide, yep.
It'll be a big, long menu. I'll have a base bid, and then whatever,
And
it's
then
gonna
we
wind
can
up,
decide.
sounds like it's gonna be 8, 9, 10 different alternates, and then a total if we pick everything.
Yep, perfect, good. Good?
Yeah.
All right, John.
All right?
Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Take care, have a great night.
Good
Thank you.
night. All right, we're going to pivot right over to our security department update. We have Mr. Wallace. Our safety and security leader for our
Yep,
school
that's me.
district. Take it away, Mr. Wallace.
Good evening. Thank you for the mini presentation. And now for the long one. All right, so just going to give you a quick rundown of security. Our mission and focus. West Babylon School District is committed to providing a safe and secure learning environment where students can thrive. Our security team works closely with administrative staff, local law enforcement, and community partners to ensure that every school remains a welcoming and protected place for teaching and learning. Through proactive planning, emergency preparedness, and ongoing training, we maintain strong safety protocols designed to safeguard the well-being of all students, staff, and visitors. Our structure consists of a senior guard, myself, school resource officers, and one guard. Our key responsibilities for the department is to ensure a safe and secure educational environment for all students, faculty, and staff. Our security staff have been trained in building emergency responses, CPR, first aid, AED, because I'm not going to say that last word trying out up here, firearm and firearm retention training, EpiPen and Narcan use, and Federal Emergency Management Agency response. So our full-time employees, we have 20 full-time guards with another 10 that we use as subs and after-school hours events. 17 of the full-time guards are assigned to the schools in the district, and we have 3 district-wide guards that float where needed. All right, so some of our highlights, the lockdown system and camera upgrade project was fully completed. We have successfully completed 2 lockdown drills and 4 fire drills in each building, exceeding the state requirements. And I think with the arrival and dismissal process at every school, particularly in the elementary schools with increased environment, security has helped play a pivotal role in assisting that to get better over the time. Our budget overview. The total allocated budget for the security department was, for this school year, $1,378,739.86, which includes the salaries, security supplies, security camera equipment and maintenance and replacement, uniforms, and professional services. To date, we have spent 30.64% of that allocated budget. We are on track for our security personnel to stay within budget. And because of that, we're emulating the 24-25 budget, which I think creates opportunity considering new requests. And then we have the budget line here. As Mike said, that we have several budget lines that are assigned here. The main one is the top one. That's the biggest one we have. That's for our district-wide guards, myself, and events like the football games, blue and gold, graduations, dances, proms, all that is built into that. As you can see, we're well underneath where we are. We have just over half of the year left, and we should come in underneath the budget for that. Pretty much every line is the same. We are within budget. So, move on to what I was hoping to get or request. All right, so I'd like to keep the 20 that we have. I know, Dr. Farrelly, I'm not going to ask what I usually ask for.
I'm not commenting, Mr. Wells.
But I'd like to keep the 20 that we have and then add 4 additional elementary guards. And the primary role of the 4 additional guards at the elementary schools would be manage and secure the high traffic, high vulnerability periods of student arrival and dismissal, which have become increasingly complex due to greater student enrollment at each elementary school. The increased enrollment means that assigning only 1 guard per school no longer provides adequate security for students and staff. For the 4 additional guards, that would come out to $197,510. That's for the 180 school days, and at the pay rate that we have now. All right. I'm also requesting that funding for 2 new security vehicles. We had 3 security vehicles in the last 2 years. It's gone down to 1. Okay, and 1 is used by a district-wide guard to go over to the other schools. A dedicated marked security vehicle are essential to eliminate district liability from the current use of personal staff vehicles, ensure immediate response capabilities, securely transport equipment, and provide a professional, visible deterrent across all campuses. I'm asking for $40,000. Ultimately, what I'd like to have is like those UTV vehicles, like a Kubota or a Polaris, something like that, one at the junior high and one at the high school that can quickly get from spot to spot on the campus. Longwood recently purchased, I believe, about 5 of them. They're around $18,000 and change, and then with vinyl, putting the stuff on. I mean, I think Mike could find somebody slap some blue and yellow paint on it and make it look nice. But
It's blue and gold.
blue and gold. Sorry. There we go. My mistake. So total for that, the 2 costs would be $237,510.
And those vehicles can drive on the street? That you're asking?
I don't know if they would. I'd have to look into that. I don't know if we can get insurance for that. It might be tough.
No, I'm curious because you said vehicles. I thought you meant cars to get from building to building.
We had cars.
Right.
we can, I mean, the one district-wide car that we use now, I think is good enough for that. That the ability to have that type of vehicle, at least at the junior high, when we have the games and the graduations, I think would really help. They utilize it a lot more there. Dr. Falcone likes to have them drive around outside. I mean, they do it out here. We do more
Understood.
walk-around patrols.
Right.
But when they had the marked car, he liked to have that car, and I think it did create a nice presence. But in this way, if it's the smaller one, they can get through the gates and not have to get out, open up the big gate and get through. And
Right.
there'd be some parts of the fields that they just wouldn't be able to get to.
Okay.
All right. So looking ahead for the rest of the year, we're committed to sustain the safety and security for all students and staff the remainder of the school year. And over the next 2 years, I'd like to continue to upgrade the analog cameras in the district with new technology. And of course, see something, say something. We have our anonymous tip line, and you can always get in touch with me or email our security department at wbsecurity@wbschools.org. And then contact your children's principal if you cannot get in touch with us. So, I know that was long, I apologize. Any questions? All right, thank you very much.
It was definitely pure coincidence that the two of you are presenting tonight, right? So every Monday morning, we meet as a team, and those two happen to be the ones that banter with each other of how long their list of, right, like who's taking long. Someone may time the other one in terms of topics discussed during our Monday morning
a couple
meetings.
minutes,
So,
if
yeah.
that much. Maybe a couple minutes. more.
Definitely coincidence that you were both today. I do want to take a moment to thank Mr. Ludritis and the Buildings and Grounds Department, right? We do, as, you know, again, the board knows, so much in-house, right? Mike is always looking to shift work to be done by our team internally, right? Which ultimately helps us from a financial perspective, right? And then that ownership as well, right? In terms of the department, but constantly looking back, but looking forward, right, in terms of how we can do things better. And the same thing for Mr. Wallace and our whole security squad, our team. They are all phenomenal. You saw them in some pictures. I mean, they are very much part of the heart and soul of every school, right, that they are in, known by our students, by our staff, by our faculty, by our families, our community members. So, again, thank you, Brian. Thank you, Mike. And thank you to those departments that you oversee as well. Again, obviously, all of the asks, you know, are being, from all of the departments being considered and reviewed, right, as we develop and continue to develop our budget, right, to propose for the 26-27 school year.
And to let Mike off the hook, there's probably some questions related to security that we won't ask in public. So it's kind of not over yet. It's just that we will follow the rules and talk about that.
They're coming to you, Mr. Wallace. They're going to send me questions, and then we'll talk.
Okay. All right, thank you. Statement of residence on agenda items only. Residents wishing to share a statement. Residents must state their name, address, and any organization they represent. They can also write this information on an index card and give it to the Assistant Superintendent of Finance and Operations. Comments about individual students or employees are not permitted. Each resident will have up to 3 minutes to speak, with a total of 15 minutes allotted. Responses will be given after all statements. Any questions needing further research will be addressed at the next meeting. Okay. Need a motion to approve. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh. Hello. No, you haven't.
Good evening, everyone. Hi to the new members that I haven't had the pleasure of dealing with yet. So I know you just said that we're not allowed to talk about individual students, but I have 5 students here. One of my students had quite the incident 2 weeks ago. I have worked with Ms. Carreri over at Santa Pod.
All right, we're venturing into the exactly.
Well, it's
Is
part
this
of,
an agenda
let's put
item?
it this way: it's part of security, right? Because and we were talking about buses and transferring things and all of that.
It's an agenda
so
item?
we have security.
Okay. Don't
So
be specific to any general
Okay,
student
we have
or staff
no
member.
security on our buses. There's incidents that happen on our buses. Our manager of transportation tells me that it is the building's responsibility to handle those incidences. The supervisor of the building tells me that it is the transportation that has to make decisions in regards to those. I was told by the manager of transportation not only to speak with Dr. Fairley, but to also approach the board in regards to my issue, which will never be on your agenda. So I'm a little confused as to, do I come to the board for help? Because that's what I was instructed to do. I've also emailed Dr. Farrelly this afternoon in regards to this. But I know that every single last one of you here on the board consistently preach about the safety of our children. And I know I receive all sorts of emails and everything else from parents where in regards to the safety of our children, and we're talking about external concerns. What about internal concerns?
Okay. So you want me to answer your question, or
I would love for you to answer my question.
Well, you would follow the chain of communication.
Which I have.
You emailed from what you've explained, you've emailed the next person on the chain of communication, Dr. Farrelly, moments ago or earlier this afternoon.
Earlier this afternoon.
Yeah, you are expected and should receive responses within 48 hours as per policy. It's written in policy.
Okay.
And if you don't get the response or a resolution, you can then definitely come to the board. You are raising a very important question. You don't have to wait for a board meeting to get those things addressed. You should follow the chain of communication rather than waiting for the next meeting.
Well, I figured I would bring it to the attention because I know there are other parents in the district as well that don't attend these board meetings, but they do sit behind their computers and they watch from home because they have children and things that they do otherwise. That, maybe other parents may want to also voice their opinion in regards to possibly having some form of security on the buses.
Understood. You've been to many meetings and heard about the chain of communication. I know you read policy.
Oh, yeah.
I would ask you to defer to that, as you should, especially when it's something that's this urgent to you.
Okay. I already have. So, Dr. Fairley, I'll look forward to hearing back from you. And then, if need be, I'll see you guys in a couple of weeks. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Okay. We need a motion to approve the consent agenda. Frank, John, all those in favor? Okay, resolution passes. Okay, at this time, I need a motion to approve the following resolution. Be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby authorizes its legal counsel to file an appeal with the New York State Review Officer from a decision rendered by impartial hearing officer Karen H. Charrington dated January 14th, 2026 in SED case number 651348. Steve, Kathy, all those in favor? Okay, that's everyone. Okay. No policies. Old business? Anyone? New business? Mr. Medina.
Yes, so just as a reminder, right, we have we have committees, right, that meet throughout the school district on various different topics, and on several of those, we have a board representative join us and participate in those committees. And after the meetings, then we do a brief update to the board, right, on the committee discussions. Mr. Medina
Thank you,
will
Dr.
share an
Farrelly.
update on technology.
Thank you, Dr. Farrelly. I had the pleasure of sitting in on 2 technology committee meetings led by Dr. Wright of the IT group. And basically what we are working on for the committee is setting up the IT plan to set up that we have to do by the state for the next 3 years, for 2026 through 2029. We do have a plan in place from 2022 to 2025. We did get a 1-year extension for that, so the previous plan is still under policy. But as a group, we've identified a new vision for the next 3-year term, and we're working on finalizing our goals. Our next meeting will finalize the next 2 out of 3 goals that we're working on, and to be continued.
Good.
Thank
Thank you, Mr.
Thanks.
Medina.
Thanks
you.
for being on there.
Thank you.
Okay. Statement of residents. Residents wishing to share a statement. Residents must state their name, address, and any organization they represent. They can also write this information on an index card and give it to the Assistant Superintendent of Finance and Operations. Comments about individual students or employees are not permitted. Each resident will have up to 3 minutes to speak with a total allotted time of 15 minutes. Response will be given after all statements. Any question needing further research will be addressed at the next meeting. Okay.
Okay.
You're supposed to
Yes.
cluck like a chicken or
No,
something.
no.
Okay.
One quick addition to the agenda, actually two. So I was just alerted that one of our students, I would like to kind of give a nice shout out to Jaylin Burgess, who I just heard that she reached the 1,000 point milestone in basketball. So pretty awesome, right? Her achievements on the court and, by the way, in the classroom as well are truly exceptional. Reaching this milestone obviously speaks to her tremendous hard work, dedication to her sport, her personal growth, right, and her team. So congratulations to Jalen and her family. And lastly, before we close, I would like to take a moment to publicly thank and acknowledge our attorney, Chris Venator, who has supported our school district for over, I had nearly before, but it's over 30 years. Chris, thank you for your steadfast guidance, dedication, and service to our students, to our staff, to our administration team, and our Board of Education. Your support has made a lasting impact, and we are truly, truly grateful. We wish you much health and happiness and all your heart desires in retirement. Please come up here for a special token from our team. We may be calling you in Florida, right?
That's okay.
Wait, hold on. Here we go.
Not during tea time.
Officially retired before we formally adjourn here. Well done there, Dr. Neville.
Thank you. I want to say thank you to this board, the prior boards. Everyone's always treated me with professionalism and respect. It's been my pleasure to represent the West Babylon School District, the community. I'm going to miss all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good. All right, we need a motion to adjourn. Frank, Anthony, all those in favor? Okay. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you. Have a good night.